Dear students, let us continue with our discussion on design of facilities. Under this, we have talked about various types of facilities starting from the parking, and in the last interaction we talked about toll plazas. Today, we are going to talk about pedestrian subways and overbridges. If you remember, we have talked about the pedestrian facilities in terms of the geometrics when we were discussing about the cross sectional elements, and pedestrian facilities is one of the part of those cross sectional elements. Now, here specifically we are going to talk about two crossing facilities, one is subway and another is a overbridge. The overbridge is also being known as the footover bridge. Now, when we talk about the crossing facilities, and as we have discussed previously too, it can be done at grade or it can be grade separated. Now, when we are talking about the grade separated facility, then the grade separated facility can be in two parts, that is pedestrian subway or overbridge or a foot overbridge, and this is what is the context of today's interaction too. Now, when we have provided this type of facility, so when we are talking about a condition where the people are crossing at grade by say this marked facility, which is also known as zebra crossing, and vehicles are approaching to this zebra crossing in this form, then there is always a possibility of a hazardous interaction between these two elements, that is the pedestrian and the vehicle. But when we are talking about a facility which is either below or above the road level, then that means we have segregated them out and the possibility of that hazardous interaction has been eliminated. Now, when this is being done, one thing which happens is that the person has to go either down and then come back, or has to go up and then come down, depending on what type of facility is being provided with respect to the level of the road, and this requires some extra effort which is to be done by the pedestrian on the stairs or ramps, unless the mechanized systems are being provided. Another thing is, now they are going out of the view, the visibility with respect to the other elements or other users is going to be less, and therefore, there can always be a concern of safety and security of these type of users. So, we have to give some emphasis to these things also when we are designing the facilities in terms of either a subway or an overbridge. Now, let us start with the first one, that is a pedestrian subway. Now, pedestrian subway is nothing but it is an underground crossing facility, as you can see here. So, there is a road level at which the vehicles are moving, and then you have to go down in this form, and there is a facility being provided here through which the people they can cross the carriageway. Now, this facility which is being provided at the lower level can be reached maybe either by ramp or by stairs, or it can be escalators or elevators. It all depends that what type of the users are there, what is the number of those users in different categories. Say we are also talking about those who are differently abled. So, we need to provide the facilities in such a manner that this type of system is accessible to all, and even we can see here that it is going to be provided for not only the pedestrians, but it can also be utilized by the people who are using or riding bicycle. So, when we are looking at this type of a system, then what are the things which needs to be taken care of, and what are the various types of these subways which can be there. These are the two things we are going to take up in the next subsequent few of the slides. So, first of all, the classification, if we talk, then the classification can be defined as a hump subway or it can be defined as a full subway. Now, when we are saying that it is a hump subway, that clearly means that something is happening like this, which is being defined as hump. So, this can be the road level and this is a hump subway. Now, when it is being done and the subway is being provided at below at this particular location, now what are the advantages of this? We are going to know when we discussed about it. But when we say it is a full subway, then the road level remains the same and the thing is going to be provided in this form. So, let us start with hump subway. Now, when we are providing this hump subway and as being told here, so what we are trying to do is that we are going a bit up and then coming down. So, this is our level of the road or the carriageway, but we have gone up by way of a slope, and here a subway has been provided. Now, whatever is the height or width of this subway is, what we can see here very clearly, this portion of that is here and the portion of that is also below. So, there are 2 points which are there, one is above and one is below the road level, and the vehicles which are going to move, they are going to move in this form or the vice versa direction. So, what we do is that this raise which is being done, this is 1.5 meters like this, and the slope which is used here is 1 in 30. Here it remains flat and the total height is 2.75 meters. So, therefore, what we are left here is 1.25 meters. So, the people who are going down from this level, say they are coming by stairs. So, the number of stairs, or we can say the risers on flight, that reduces. So, the total effort by the pedestrian to go down is reducing in this form, and this can also be provided in the form of a, say a ramp. So, this can be a ramp also. So, if we are providing this raising condition, that is with a ramp of 1 in 30, but when we are talking about the another ramp, then it is 1 in 20. Now, depending on if there is a requirement, how many these risers are going to be there. So, it is 1.25 meters, and if we consider like 15 centimeter is the height, then in that case we are going to have somewhere around 8 such risers or 9 such risers. So, if that is the case, then probably one flight can be there, but if it is going more than that, then we used to provide the landings. So, in that sense it will happen that maybe after some n number of these risers, then we are going to have the landing here. So, this is the same being shown. So, it is just say an example being provided here, where the values have been given in feet. What we can see is that if this is 8 feet, it means if we go by the conversion, so this is roughly around 2.4 meters. So, this 2.4 meters is the minimum which can be utilized, otherwise this looks quite a constrained condition. And when we say that this is 1.5 meters and this is 1.25 meters, then accordingly if we are going as 1 in 30 here, so this distance is going to be 45 meters on either of the side. So, the customizations can be done very easily in those forms. Here you can see that the same as I was talking, the level is here. So, the road level is here from where the pedestrians are coming down using the stairs, and the road has gone to this level. So, the vehicles are now moving at this particular point. So, this is how we have looked at this pedestrian hump. Now, let us talk about the full subway. That means, now we are going totally underground, and the whole of the height which is to be provided in terms of a subway is going to be below the road level. So, here we can see that the road is at this level. So, here also it is being provided, and the whole of the this subway has been provided below it. For that reason, if you are going down, it may happen that then from this level, then we have to go down, and here then we may have a subway, and then again this. So, there is going to be a slope or a ramp so that the pedestrians or even the bicyclists, whosoever are going to use this subway, they can go down and then conveniently use this path so as to get to the other side. So, that is what may happen. Okay. Now, when we are looking at the design features of this subway, one thing which we have talked previously when we discussed about the hump subway was that a minimum of 2.4 meters has to be there, but if it has to provide a good facility looking at the future things also, then it is better to go for a 4.8 meters wide subway. So, this is going to be 4.8 meters wide. Height we have discussed. So, this height is 2.75 meters, is a clear height between the top of the floor level and the bottom of the deck. And once we are providing this facility, and depending on the length of this, if suppose it is only for a 2-lane system, then for a 2-lane system this length is going to be only say 7 meters long. So, here there may not be an issue of illumination, but if it is being provided for a multi-lane highway, and in that multi-lane highway if it is 6 lanes or 8 lanes, then it is going to be a quite long subway. In such cases the visibility has to be maintained, and then during the night time that has to be ensured through the illumination being provided inside it, and that illumination at the surface level should be minimum 50 lux. For security reasons, for all of these big type of subways, then we should have CCTV cameras being installed, and the ventilation has to be taken care of. Another thing is that because we are going to make it universally accessible, then the tactile paving tiles, they needs to be provided, and they have to be there at least 300 mm before and after the flight of the steps. That means, when you are here at this portion, so before it starts, so at this location, that is, this is 300 mm, these tiles are going to be there. So, it will be in the form of the tiles being provided like this, and then there is going to be the warning that you have reached a location, and then finally it again takes the person to the flights, and that is how that can be utilized. If the ramps are there, as we discussed, then the slope shall be 1 in 20, and when we are talking about this slope, again now in this case, because the number of risers are going to be more, we are going 2.75 meters down, and even it is going to be maybe more than that, because the deck is also going to be there. This 2.75 is the clear height. So, looking at this aspect, the landings has to be taken care of. So, at appropriate levels these landings will be there, and what it says is that at every 750 mm of the vertical rise, the landings should be provided. Here you can see that there are tactile tiles being provided. So, it guides the person in this form as well as it guides this way also, and then it defines that the warning tiles are there, and it defines that now you can go ahead in this area. So, this is how the things has to be provided. Here what you can see in the another case is the good illumination, totally lit area is there, and the height which is being provided, this height is minimum 2.75 meters, and this width is 4.8 meters, but this should be an effective value if some other things are also being provided. So, in this case, as we can see that there are pots being placed, then it should exclude those spaces which are being occupied by them, and then there are tactile tiles which are continuously being provided, say on this side, which guides the disabled people or the visually impaired people to utilize it and take that help to move ahead. Okay, so, these are the things which needs to be taken care of, but obviously when this closed conduit system has been provided, then ventilation has to be proper in this one. Now, here what we can see is that there is the flight being provided, then there is a landing here, and then again there is a flight. So, after every say 8-9 steps, then the landing can be there, and then after that again the steps can be provided. It all depended how much up and down we have to go. There are railings on this side on the wall. They are being placed at a distance away from the wall, and depending on that what is the geometrical feature which is being provided with respect to the stairs, they are also being aligned. So, they are at a specific height from the this surface. So, all of these things are also we are going to look at. The another thing which we can see in the right side photograph is, again it says talks about the various heights being provided in terms of either the pedestrian or the bicyclist. For the pedestrian it says that 2.3 meters is like the minimum value which should be there, and in the case of cyclist it is 2.4 meters being provided. But at the same time there are another values being shown here, and those values are in those particular cases when this subway is quite long, and if this is more than 23 meters, then that total space which is being provided at the subway has to be increased. And footpath at a minimum level of 2 meters wide is being provided, cycle track 2.5 meters, and then there are margins on this side for the protection which is minimum as 0.5 meters. So, they are also there. Now, in case some cattle is using it, or say there is a equestrian who is going to use this one and the mounted condition, then the headroom which is to be provided is 3.7 meters. So, depending on that who are the users, their decisions needs to be taken. Now, when we are talking about this handrail, then what are the points which we have to keep it in mind? They are being summarized here. What it says is that the height should be 760 mm to 900 mm above the walking surface, and that should be provided on both sides along the wall, and they should be provided at a gap of 50 mm, so that if somebody holds the railing, then there is no issue in doing that. So, that gap is required, and it should terminate at 300 mm beyond the bottom or top riser in closed loop form. So, what it says is that if after this, then if this becomes a continuous landing here, then this railing is going to move in this form, and then it should be rounded and closed. So, this distance which we are looking here is 300 mm. Now, steps should have 150 mm riser and 300 mm tread. That means, we are talking here in this form. So, these are the say steps. So, this is 300 mm, whereas this one is 150 mm. So, these are going to be considered. The maximum height of the flight between the landings shall be 1200 mm. We talked previously that at every 750 mm height, if we can provide a landing, is more easier for the users, but the maximum value is being defined as 1200 mm. Then if we are providing a pedestrian and a cycle subway, then a minimum 2.5 meter wide and 2.75 meter high is going to be there. If a combined cycle and pedestrian subway is being provided, and depending on whether the traffic is moving in either of the directions, so it is 5 meters for one way and 6.5 meters for a two-way traffic, and here is still the height remains the same as 2.75 meters. Elevators, if provided, then the internal dimensions shall be 1500 mm by 1500 mm, and hawkers spaces if can be provided in the subway, then it helps in two ways. One is it makes it more lively. It allows those pedestrians to purchase the things at that location, because if they are coming back from their office going through that subway, they can get those material. And the next thing which is important is the security, because now there are many people inside, so they feel secured. So, here we can see that this is one another way of creating the handrails, and these handrails have been provided at two levels. So, it becomes more accessible design. Okay. So, this is one another thing which can be taken care of, and then the flight, one single flight has been provided on either of the side, because not much are there, but it also going to be dependent on the spaces which are available. Here in this case we can see the ramp is also being provided on the sides, two sides, and the stairs are provided on this side with the railings on either of the sides, so that the person can hold and go down, and then the ramp is taking the person towards this and it comes up from the other side. Here this is a hawker zone which is provided. In the case of this hawker zone, then what you found is lot many activities are there, and because of these activities now there is no issue of the security. This is a case where the pedestrians as well as the bicyclists, they both are utilizing the same space. So, it is being designed in that form. Now, let us come to the pedestrian overbridge. Now, pedestrian overbridge or a foot overbridge, now these are being provided at various locations looking at the different type of factors. That means, we are going to look at the amount of volume of pedestrians who are going to cross at that location. We are going to look at that what type of these pedestrians are there as far as their different categorizations are possible. Then vehicular flow, which is going to have cross interactions with the pedestrians. So, if that flow is also quite high, that also needs to be looked at. The width of the road in terms of the number of lanes which needs to be crossed by the pedestrians. So, if it is more than 2 lane or 3 lane system, then it becomes quite difficult for a pedestrian to cross in one go. So, they will going to stop at the refuse island and they will again take an opportunity, and using that opportunity will cross the other side. So, that is where this number of lanes is also a big issue here, and the locations where there has been the history of crashes or the hazardous interactions between vehicles and the pedestrians, then that also is going to warrant that we should go for a grade separated crossing facility here. Now, when we are talking about this foot over bridge, the issue is that as compared to the subway, in the case of subway, what we have seen is that we are going down maybe somewhere around a bit more than 2.75 meters, because 2.75 meters was the clear height inside the subway. But when we are looking at this foot over bridge, and this foot over bridge is being provided say in this form, that you go up and then crosses on this side and comes down, and there is a carriageway here. So, this clear height is roughly around 5.5 meters. It is just double of what we are talking with respect to the subway. So, for this foot over bridge condition, the total effort which is going to be made to go up by using the stairs here or the stairs here, you are coming down, in all of these cases, then this is going to be more taxing. So, that is why this has a least priority for usage, but if all of these or few of these as a combinations are there, then we should try to see that the foot over bridges are being provided as well as are being utilized by the pedestrians to cross the road facility. Now, there can be two type of factors which primarily we can talk here. One is the user related factors, another can be the design related factors. Now, in the case of user related factors, what are the things which we can look at is that the foot over bridge shall be easily accessible, means the location is such that you can very easily reach there, mountable and the convenient to use. So, the design should be such that whatever the risers are being provided or the ramps are being provided, or are we going to provide escalators or elevators. So, that is going to improve upon the convenience of that use. Safety and security of the pedestrians has to be ensured, though even though you are at the top level, but say if it is being closed from the two sides, then the visibility is going to be hampered. So, we are not generally going to close it on the sides of that path which is being used at the elevated condition to cross the road. So, these are another features which needs to be taken care of. It should protect the people from the weather conditions, say rain, sun, etc. There need to be a wide circulation area at the ground level, and there should not be any obstructions in front of that. Say if we say that this is the curb side and we are going up like this. So, whatever is this open spaces, that should be free. So, we may have the stairs or the ramps being provided so as to come to up level at this side. So, this is a curb side area. Okay. Then the landing shall be provided at intermediate elevation locations. This is again the same way as we have talked previously for subways. Design of stairs and ramps shall be convenient to use. Again, when we say convenient to use means we have to look at all these things, risers, treads, landings, or the railings to be provided on the sides. Sample cycle ramps, if needed, shall be included in the design. It all depends on that whether they are going to be cyclists who are going to use this facility for crossing. If it is so, then an angle iron rail is being provided on the side, so that the person can put the tire of the cycle in that and drag it up and down along that inclined surface. Anti-skid or durable walking surfaces shall be provided. The lighting should be minimum 40 lux at the floor level. Tactile tiles needs to be placed appropriately, and this again we have already talked about. Looking at the design related factors, very first thing is the topography of that area, and we should try to see that if this topography can be utilized so as to reduce the efforts to be made by the pedestrians to go up and cross the road and come down, then this is going to be more better. And in that sense, the number of stairs or the risers which are going to be provided, or the flights which are going to be provided, if they can be reduced or they can be made more easier in terms of going up and down, then that is what we are looking at here. The ramps are usually preferred, because in the case of stairs you are continuously going down, but when in the ramp is there you are just walking as the way you usually walk on the leveled surface. So, that is a preferred thing. Escalators can be provided at certain locations where the users are many and the flow is quite high, and you have to transport people from this level to another level at a higher rate. So, that can be looked at. If you are providing spiral ramps, then they should have large radii. It should not happen that the straight ramps are being provided and then there is a 180-degree turn in this form. So, that is not a good design. Then escalators can be provided at locations where this volume is quite high, who are desiring to cross at that location. The another point which is there is that you have a road on which the traffic is moving like this, and then we are providing the footover bridge here. So, when we say that we are providing the footover bridge, so say this is the footover bridge which is being provided at the top. Now, this is going to be accessed from the ground level. The how this is going to be provided is what we are looking. Say this can be one possibility, that we have provided the stairs or the ramps from this side. So, the person can go up in this way, or it can also be provided in this form. So, again there can be stairs or ramps being provided. Now, what is happening is that when this orientation is provided, then there is a possibility this vehicle goes out and of control and can hit the pedestrians who are going to use this overhead structure here, that is the overbridge. So, this is not a right design. What it should happen is that the pedestrian who is going to utilize this overbridge, when they are approaching the stairs, then they should be looking towards the vehicles. So, when the vehicles are coming from this direction, they are going in this form. Similarly, when the vehicles are coming from this direction, then they should have the access from this way. So, this is the design which is being talked here. Now, you can see here that there are stairs being provided and there are escalators also being provided here for to come down or go up. So, this is a one combination being utilized here, but at the moment say it looks like that maybe it is not working. So, people are just sitting there. Now, in this case what you can say is that the stairs or ramps are being provided on that side. At the same time there is a elevator. So, this elevator is having an access from this side and it is being provided with the transparent material, and this is the connecting bay for this movement. So, this is how this is going to be provided. Now, the other factors are the vehicle, pedestrian barriers or railings on the sidewalk shall be provided towards the approaches to overbridges. Single span bridge shall be constructed if FOV crosses a dual carriageway where the speeds are greater than 40 kilometers per hour. If there is a pedestrian bridge and a vehicle bridge and they are being placed side by side, then there should be a gap of 2 meters between those two bridges. Otherwise, you will find that some illegal activities or crossing patterns may take place somewhere at the top. Provision of lighting, signs, signals, handrails, safety equipment, etc., they have to be ensured as such. Then barriers shall be placed on the approaches to the overbridges to prevent hazardous interactions with out of control vehicles. Similarly, they have to be placed on the approaches of the overbridges along the curve of the carriageway to prevent illegal crossing of the road sections by the pedestrians. So, there are two things which have been associated with the barriers here, and the design shall be in harmony with the environment. Now, let us look at here that there is a barrier being provided at this side, and you can find that if the traffic is coming from this direction, then you can go up in this form. Now, this is helping that any vehicle which goes out of control just hits here and goes back. Here the another thing which is being ensured is by way of the provision of the railing, so that all these pedestrians, they should not try to cross at the ground level and go to the other side, and thus creating a situation where the some crash or major injury or something can happen in that form. So, that is being omitted by way of the provision of these features. Now, few other things are that if you are looking at this, then the clear width should be 1800 mm. The bollards should be placed if the width is more than 1800 mm. So, in front of that, increase the width to 2000 mm if the pedestrians and cycle path both are segregated by railing, and provide minimum 3000 mm if they are both not segregated. So, we are giving space to both type of users. Headroom is 2500 mm, that is the space between the floor and the top of the shelter being provided. Then vertical clearances are also being looked with respect to the power lines, and what it says is under the three categories, if it is 11 kV volts, then the vertical clearance should be 3.7 meters and the horizontal clearance should be 1.2 meters, and this horizontal clearance increases to 2 meters if the voltage values changes from 11 to 33 kV, and if it is more than 33 kV, then what we do is that whatever these values are there, we add 0.3 meters for every additional 33 kV or part of thereof. So, that is how the values will keep increasing. In the case of stairs, some of the things we have already looked, but now here we are giving a range. For treads, we said that it should be 300 mm, so it can be 250 to 300. Then in the case of riser, we said 150 mm, so it is 150 to 200 mm. Single flight, if it is there, then the number of risers should not be many, or it should be maximum 15 per flight, and if there are requirement the height is too high, then the maximum 3 flights per straight section can be there, otherwise it is going to be very difficult for the pedestrians to climb. Then riser base, it can be perforated with a perforation size of 50 mm, but then these perforations, when we are talking, say if we are saying that these are the perforations being provided, now they should be segregated in this form on that riser. So, this is the way the thread is being provided. So, the basically we are seeing a thread, and then we will be having the changeover. The pitch is 30 degrees to 40 degrees and the height of flight should be less than 3 meters. So, this is what is being shown. We can see that there is a landing here, there is a landing at this point. So, the number of these steps, they are being restricted maybe up to something like 9 or 10, and the railings are being provided on both the sides. Here also we can see that this path is there. There is a multi-lane system on which this overbridge is being provided, and you have a protected way of going up as well as the protection is being ensured at the top. When we talk about the ramps should be having a slope of 1 in 20 or less than that. If required, then not more than 1 in 12 can be there, but with a change in horizontal alignment at every 3.5 meter rise. Intermediate landings at an interval of 2.5 meter rise for 1 in 20 gradient should be provided, but if it is flatter than 1 in 20, then no such landing is required, and if it is steeper than that, then the landing should be provided at every 650 mm rise. So, that is how the changes are going to be there with respect to the gradient which is being provided on a ramp. Then minimum inside radius at the curved ramp is 5.5 meters. When we look at the handrails and the parapets, then the minimum height of the railing is 1.1 meters above the floor. It has to be increased if there is a wind or the vertical clearance is more than 10 meters, then this is 1.3, but if there are cyclists, then it is increased to 1.4. So, there are 3 values which needs to be taken care of. Now, when we are looking at this handrail, so this is a handrail which is being provided in this form. So, if this is a diameter, so it can be 40 to 50 mm diameter. So, kindly make a change here, or it is rectangular section, then in the case of a rectangular section, this is how it looks like. So, it should be 50 mm wide and 38 mm deep. That is how it is being provided. The edges are being rounded, as I have shown previously, that you have to just culminate them in this form, so that it is not obstructing. Spacing between balustrades should not be more than 75 mm. That means, when we are providing the system like this, then there are going to be these balustrades and there is a railing at the top. So, this gap which we are looking here is should not be more than 75 mm, and if the width of a stair or ramp is more than 3 meters, then the railings shall be provided centrally. So, these are few of the designs which can be utilized so as to provide different over bridges. You can study these type of designs, their possibilities and the merits and demerits. They have been given in the guidelines for the design of footbridges. So, with this we close this interaction here, and we are going to continue and we will talk about the 3 more elements in the next interaction. Till then, thank you and bye.